It's Jonathan for Pedals and Effects. I'm here at Curtis Novak Pickups HQ with Curtis Novak.
Good.
And we're talking about, this is kind of a sequel to the one we made at Pedals and Effects at One Studio regarding the Novak Bisonic installed bass that we played through and talked about. And I brought it out here to Yucca Valley, California, to have Curtis take a look at it and maybe make a few alterations to get it in even a better place than it was before. So, if you want to show us what's going on here.
So, the first things that I noticed that I think would help a lot with the tone is that the pickups are sitting really low to the body. Typically, when people put these in a Fender style bass, it's sitting on a pick guard, so they're naturally sitting a little closer to the strings. And the pole pieces are up pretty high. I prefer it when the pole pieces are down more flush with the body, and you get more of the coil doing the sensing and not just the pole pieces standing super high like a lightning rod. So
the coils themselves are picking up information.
It's the coil that does the sensing on a pickup. It's not the pole pieces. You could actually have a pickup with no pole pieces.
Wow.
But you can't have a pickup without a coil. So the idea is that the pole pieces help bring the signal to the coil, but it's the coil that needs to work. So getting the coil up a little closer to the pickup, you get a more full sound out of it than just having a super high pole piece. So we'll do that, but the cool thing about doing that is I noticed since this is also in a jazz bass without a pick guard, the holes, as Juan pointed out, were sticking out around the cover because it's longer than that. So when I laser cut some new risers for this, I made them a little bit larger, so it's actually not only going to raise the pickup up, but it's also going to cover the holes that are in the bass. I know that doesn't matter as much to Juan, but it just
it'll look good.
It took care of it. So
two birds with one stone.
Yeah, and then the other issue that you guys have pointed out, that the pole pieces don't line up. I have 3 different size pole spacings. I've got the original Hagstrom spacing, which is real narrow like a Gibson, and then I have a Fender neck and a Fender bridge spacing. When Juan told me what he was doing and the bass, I just assumed it was going to be a Fender style bridge on here, and so I gave him the wider spacing.
Got it.
And when I see it, it doesn't spread as much at the bridge as a normal jazz bass or P bass does. So I'm going to put a narrower pole spacing on that one, so it'll line up better as well.
Okay.
So
awesome. And these Bisonics are something you've been making for a while now.
Yeah, I think I've been making them probably about 4 or 5 years now.
Okay.
I've been doing it, but people have been pestering me for about 10 years that I should make them. I'm the one known for doing the odd pickups. And they were like, this is right down your street. I've repaired a lot of them, but I wasn't wanting to step on Fred Hammond and what he was doing. So I was giving him plenty of time to make sure he wasn't going to do it. And actually, when I was doing it, there was actually about 3 other people that kind of racing to the same finish line. And I think I got there a little bit. Had I waited another 6 months, I would have probably missed it.
Oh wow!
It was a chance to get it, but I heard through, not directly from Fred, but friends of friends that we share, that it just wasn't anything he was wanting to do. So I'm like, well, it's my chance.
Kind of your duty.
It's my chance, and I had an injection mold machine, so I could make the parts. Okay. And that was like huge. It was like, oh my gosh, I already got the machine. I'll just add this to it.
Yeah, because these aren't just something you can order.
You can't just find these.
Right.
And at the time I was doing it, Guild wasn't even doing it. Guild's now reissued the Starfire, and they're making it, but at the time I did it, Guild wasn't even making it, so you could not find parts anywhere.
Right, but the Guild version's different than your version.
Quite a bit, yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
So it's a different sound.
It looks the same, it's the same footprint, but the way they're winding them is not anything what the Starfire was, or what the Bisonic was. But, I mean, they're good basses. They're really good. And whether it's not that it's right or wrong, it's just different.
Right. That's cool. So you're also a fan of the sound of these pickups, because we've talked quite a bit about Jack Cassidy and Barry Oakley. You were telling me about this just earlier. He was the one who actually used the jazz bass
Yep.
He was the first one to do that, as far as we know, right?
Yeah, I don't know the whole story firsthand. My understanding of the story was when the Allman Brothers came to the Fillmore and they started playing the shows, and they really hit it big. They were doing some shows with Jefferson Airplane, and they hung out and did this and that. And from what I heard through the Oakley half of things was that Jack Cassidy actually gave Barry Oakley a Starfire bass because he liked the sound. He liked his bass, and it was like, holy smokes. And so he gifted one to him, and you'll find pictures of Barry Oakley playing it, but it was a really short period where he actually played the bass. He didn't like my understanding was he didn't like the way it felt and the way it hung on.
Oh, okay.
And he was more of a jazz bass player. And so it was where he loved the sound of it, but he couldn't jive with the bass like he did a jazz bass.
Right.
So what his tech or whoever within where he was, I don't know if he did it personally or what, took the Starfire pickup out of his Starfire and put it in the neck position of his jazz bass. And then he moved the neck pickup that was in the jazz bass down by the bridge.
Okay.
And
so two jazz pickups
in the bridge,
and
then the bisonic was there. So the controls still worked the same, and then there was two more knobs up here that was volume and tone for the bisonic.
Okay.
And that's and the early Allman Brothers stuff is all recorded on it. That was and it's as Juan said, it's a tone. It no longer sounds like a Fender. It's amazing. I had one guy tell me one time when he put it in his P bass that after one of their rehearsal sessions, he had to go up and check the clay tiles on his roof because he was sure some of them had rattled loose and stuff. It's got quite a bit of body behind it.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, for sure. That's kind of the famous signature of that
Yeah.
pickup. It seems like now. So I wouldn't be remiss in saying that the most famous or most recognized applications of this tone would be Jack Cassidy and the Jefferson Airplane stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And the Allman Brothers, Barry Oakley's.
Yeah, Barry Oakley. Yeah.
So it's actually just as the middle pickup position, the middle bisonic on the jazz bass that's not like the wrong version or something. That's partially what people think of as being the sound.
Yeah, that is kind of like the Fender neck position. There aren't, other than the humbucker the Fender did on that later telly bass, did they ever really put a pickup up this far?
Right.
Typically it's back here, and so often people put it there. I've had a lot of people put them in P bass, the first generation P bass,
Sure.
where it was the single coil. They'll put it in that position. It's kind of the same position.
Yeah.
And it's I think when it starts getting up too much to the neck, it'll get more dark,
Yeah.
and you lose some of the brightness of it.
Yeah,
So,
I guess I was just asking about that because, like, on the first part of this video, when Juan and I were discussing it, it's a preference to have it. It would be a sound preference to have it up in the humbucker position versus that it's not, that it's incorrect or it shouldn't.
no, I think the reason people haven't done a lot of it is just because a lot of people follow rules and copy wherever pickups were. Part of it is the engineering of what I was told years ago by a really good engineer who used to work at Gibson is you put the pickups where there's natural harmonics on the strings.
Right.
And so if you just if you move this pickup up 4 inches, it's going to change its tone. It's not going to ring as true. Having the pickup sensing the strings at the point where there's a natural harmonic, the theory is it rings truer and cleaner.
Oh, that's interesting.
So you might, if you moved it up here, I would want to make sure that you could play a harmonica around here to make sure it's still, you're still going to get a full tone rather than a, kind of a wavy tone. If it rings truer, that's the theory behind it. I don't know how actual true that is, but that's what I was told the people in the know to put them on a harmonica.
Cool. Wow.
So, and I do want to go back and change one of the things. Phil Lesh also played the Starfire really well. So but that was the whole Barry Oakley coming in, and it was that whole thing when the Allman
Right.
Brothers were hitting big, and those bands were big at the Fillmore. So it was,
Right. So it's those three, and even though the Allman Brothers weren't necessarily a San Francisco band, they were considered part of the San Francisco sound because they were because of the Fillmore and
Oh, yeah.
because of that association.
and at the point that they hit the, you know,
Right.
they hit the their popularity. When they hit the public,
Right.
was really at the Fillmore.
Yeah, because I know that the San Francisco-based sound is, you know,
Yeah.
those pickups.
Yep.
And I would have said a guild, but obviously not in every case.
Yeah. Yeah. So, one other thing that I think would be good to note is Juan was talking about the difference between the Dark Stars, the Hammond Dark Stars, and the Bisonics. And when he was talking about them sounding darker, the thing with the Dark Stars that all of them I've seen, I've repaired both them and the Hagstroms, and the Dark Stars they're identical in construction, but the coils are wound a lot lower. They're wound more in the 6.5K range.
Okay.
And it's a lower wind, and the Hagstroms were wound a whole lot hotter, and so there's some construction differences of it. I make a version that's a coil tap to where you can get the Dark Star wind and you can get the higher Bisonic Hagstrom.
Oh, wow.
And with in a P bass you do it like with a push pull pop,
Oh,
typically. So you can hear both, and it's a good sound. Most people prefer, as Juan was saying, that the Hagstrom sound, the old Bisonic sound, they preferred it because it's a cleaner. It's brighter. It's more on the area of getting active because it's hotter.
Okay.
So and I think on basses you want more hotter, so more mids come through, and I had one person describe it to me when he played it with the push pulls, was when it's at the lower Dark Star setting, it sounds more like your speaker cabinet's facing the floor, and when you pulled to the Hagstrom, it was the speaker facing you. Okay. So you hear more articulation, you hear more of the notes, the harmonics and everything else. You don't hear just the muffle of the note.
Okay.
So.
Wow. All right. Well, I mean, I think we've kind of gone over it. We'll come back after you fix this.
I'll make some changes on it, and we'll see what we get on it.
Okay.
Right.
Sounds good.
All right.
Okay. So did some work on this thing.
Yes.
What did we do? What did you do here?
What we did on the bass is I've lifted well first off we lifted the pickups up. I put a ring around it, a laser cut a ring for it that's going to raise it up, kind of like if there was a pick guard on it. That seems to be a better height for the pickups, and it also was able to cover the holes from the jazz bass. Secondly, we put a separate, a narrower string spacing on the bridge pickup so that it sits with the strings better. And then the last thing I did when we were putting it together, I realized that Juan was talking about wanting the pickup up further up the neck, and when he had it in here before, he had it so the pull pieces were actually on this end. So I flipped the pickup so the pull pieces are higher and the screws are back here. The screws, they're outside the coil. They might pick up a little bit of string noise just since it is a steel screw and it goes into the steel cantilever and to the pull piece. But the 1/4-inch pull pieces, they go through the coil. We have the coil up closer to the strings, and now the pull pieces, they're sensing, so it's sensing about 1 inch closer to the neck. So it should have a little bit darker tones out of it.
Awesome.
That he was kind of wanting to get deeper tones out of it. And I'm thinking that's about all the changes I made on it.
Awesome. Okay.
So.
Well, we'll see what he thinks of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Excellent.